2 years ago, my family inherited 9 acres of ancient woodland from my grandfather, who had owned the land for about 40 years. The land is so diverse, with areas that have remained unchanged for centuries, and other areas that require a lot of work to bring back to good health. So in this video, I want to do something special. I'm going to take you on a tour of our woodland to give you an idea of the geography of the landscape here, and the kind of work that we are doing to restore and protect this wonderful woodland, and build a sustainable future for ourselves and others. And what I've done is I've also made a map for you as well. By compiling satellite images and drone footage, we've been able to figure out the topography of the landscape here to really get an accurate picture of what we're dealing with. So join me as we explore this forgotten landscape, and welcome to this episode of the Wellstead. Today I want to do something special for you. I want to take you around my woodland here and explore the different areas that we work in and to show you sort of the landscape that we're dealing with here. So our woodland has a total area of 9 acres. There's some really diverse areas in this woodland. For example, we've got a few clearings like the farm here. There's some areas of closed canopy woodland. There's some areas of coppice trees. There's a large area with invasive species that we need to deal with. And there's a few lakes and ponds around as well. We are surrounded by countryside all around the property, and there is a road that runs along the perimeter of the land from the northwest corner down to the southeast. There are 3 main access points onto the land, and a public footpath that we own and maintain that runs along the southern border of the property. On the property, there are 3 large bodies of water. The first and largest of the 3 is a natural lake that is currently inaccessible as it is surrounded by invasive trees like cherry laurel and bamboo. This is something that we're going to be working to clear because I would love to have this as sort of a little recreational spot to sit by the lake here. But because it's not totally accessible, I'm not sure of the quality of it, but it's a beautiful natural lake, and that's definitely something that we'll be working on soon. Opening this lake up is not a main priority at the moment, but it is definitely a project that I will be working on and documenting on this channel in the near future. The other 2 bodies of water are runoff ponds that flow into the land from elsewhere, forming streams that flow quite healthily in the winter and mostly dry up in the summer months. Our main access point to the land is on the northern edge of the woodland, with a track that leads about halfway into the property where we reach our main area, the farm. Alright, so this is the farm. Like I said, this is where you're going to see most of our videos taking place because this is right in the heart of the woodland. And since there was very little tree regeneration here, what we did is we took advantage of that, cleared most of the ferns. I mean, in the summer months like this, we do get quite a bit of overgrowth again, which we have to keep on top of. But here in the farm, we've got obviously the main polytunnel, which is sort of a half greenhouse and half sort of workspace and shed for the time being, until we get a proper shed to keep our tools and workbench in there. And at the moment, we've only got a few vegetables growing in there. But like I said, once we move our tools out, then it's going to be much better because we can have all sorts of plants growing in there. Around the outside, we're also starting to prep beds, and at the moment we've actually got some broad beans ready to pick. However, the rest of the land here is still being prepped. And we're also, in this area right here, trying to grow sort of a wildflower orchard and trees. We've got an almond tree there already, but I really want some apple trees, plum trees, pear trees, fig trees, everything here, so that when you walk up the main path here into the woodland, I mean into the farm, then you come through and you can just pick fruit, and then you walk in and there's just a beautiful permaculture food forest everywhere. So that's the farm. And then next up, if we head down here, right next to the farm is another clearing that is currently being used as a kind of junkyard to organise a lot of the litter and rubbish scattered around the property over the decades. But in the future, we're planning to build some form of business in the form of ecotourism over there, and so there'll be much more on that to come, and that is actually the area that this whole channel is named after, so that will be the Wellstead one day. And right here next to the farm, this is sort of, like I said, the heart of the woodland where we do most of our things, and the rest of the woods all sort of forms around here. This is about maybe about an acre in total with this clearing that we need to also replant some trees here as well. In total is about an acre, so there's 8 acres that form around this area. Now, right next to the Wellstead clearing, we find the second largest body of water on the land, which is a pond that's formed from rainwater washing off from the road and the fields around the land. In the winter, this trickles down along the northern fence, forming a lovely little pond right by our main gate, but as I said, in the summer months this dries up, although you can still see some lovely aquatic plants growing alongside it. And next to this stream is where things get really interesting. Right next to the northern border of the land on the road, hidden among loads of cherry laurel and bamboo, there is actually a World War II bunker on this property. I don't really go in it that often because it's filled with water, as you can imagine. It's been sat here for so long. There is some graffiti in there, and it's got some World War II imagery, so I'm not going to show that on this video. Now, we don't have any plans for this right now, as it is a protected building, so we are limited with what we can do with it. What we'll do one day is use this for some purpose, either just restore it for, historical preservation, or use it as like a shed, I don't know. It'll be used one day, but for now it's just sat here, sitting quietly and secretly right next to the main road here. But we will definitely explore this area more in future videos. Moving up back past the farm, we come to my favourite area of the woodland, which is my campsite. And this is actually where you'll see me in most of my videos, because it's such a calm and quiet spot right up here on the hill. And it's really nice to sit here in the summer, because the farm, although it's beautiful, where it's in the clearing there, it's very humid, especially in the sun. Whereas here I can just sit in the shade, relax, put up a tent, have a fire. And so that's why you'll often see my videos where I'm sat here chatting away about something. In fact, this entire top area of the woodland is just beautiful, and probably the healthiest area of the woodland overall, with mostly mature beech, birch and oak trees forming a closed canopy that is just serene in the spring and summer, and also where I see the most wildlife in the entire woodland. However, just past this closed canopy wood is an area that has the same healthy canopy, but the understory has been completely overtaken by rhododendrons, cherry laurel and other invasive species. And so that's one of my primary focuses, is removing all of those rhododendrons there, and also removing the cherry laurel that are next to them, because it shows me what the rest of the woodland can look like once we've removed the invasive species and restored the woods to its natural ecological state. Just down from that whole section of the forest is an area that I like to call Badger Valley. This is a beautiful part of the woodland where the land curves down into this lovely gully filled with badger setts, fox burrows and bluebells in the spring. So I've really got to watch my step around here. And for that reason it's more of an area to just look at and enjoy, but it's also where I've actually been working on removing the cherry laurels, because as you can see we've got all these beautiful trees around here, but just behind me here it's just infested with cherry laurels, and they grow so dense that they stop anything else from growing. So that makes it really important to make sure that we're clearing it all to give other native species a chance to thrive here. But yeah, you can see Badger Valley sweeping all the way down here, and it goes all the way down to the greenhouse way through there. Yeah, it's just a really, really beautiful area of the woodland. It's sort of the transition point between the healthy natural woodland and over this area, which starts to become a little bit more troublesome and difficult to deal with. Hey guys, I just wanted to interrupt to say thank you so much for watching this video. If you find that you get any kind of entertainment or value from any of my videos, then please consider hitting subscribe. We're still a new channel, so every new subscriber and every like really helps the channel grow and reach a wider audience. Also, if you want to help support the channel directly, I have just launched a Patreon, which I will link in the description below. Any donation is really appreciated, and every single donation will go back into funding our work at the Wellstead, such as anything from buying new tools to building a wildlife-friendly fence that will allow deer and other wildlife to move freely between our land and the surrounding countryside, and will also stop trespassers from going on the land, littering and damaging the woodland. So any contribution will be massively appreciated. and you don't even have to subscribe. You can make a one-time donation as well. And like I said, 100% of donations go back to the land, so you're really supporting a really cool cause. With that said, thanks for watching again, and let's get back to the video. Now, if we go back toward the farm, our track actually continues past the lake and into another clearing where we find the abandoned chicken coop. This was an area that my grandfather had cleared many years ago. However, judging by old satellite images, sometime between 2002 and 2005, the chicken coop was abandoned after foxes somehow managed to get inside and kill all the chickens. Since then, it had served as a work area for my granddad, but has now fallen into disrepair and is almost completely inaccessible during the summer months due to an invasive plant called Himalayan balsam that just grows rampantly here. So we can really only access the coop during the autumn and winter. If we continue toward the public footpath on the south boundary of the woodland, then we find an old water spring and concrete reservoir on the land. Now, I'm unsure about whether or not this water is still drinkable, but the well house has been here for probably about 100 years to protect the natural spring, which trickles down the hill toward the western boundary, forming another overflow pond right in the very bottom corner of the land. This is another area I'd love to restore one day in the future and hopefully be able to source our own natural spring water for the farm. But for now, it's quite a rundown and dangerous zone, so I tend not to venture over that way very often. The areas in between these main zones is mostly either natural and untouched woodland with birch trees, beech trees, oak trees, and quite a few ash trees which are dying from the ash dieback disease. And unfortunately, most of the rest of the areas in between these parts are overtaken either by rhododendrons, cherry laurel, bamboo, or all three, which makes them priority areas to clear so that we can not only open the woodland up to make it easier for us to access these areas, but also to help restore the woodland to its natural ecological state before we then begin to integrate our own activities into the land in a more sustainable way. And there we go. Thus concludes our tour of the Wellstead. 9 acres isn't a huge area, but there's still so much to be found in this little pocket of woodland. Rich not only in biodiversity, but also in historical secrets, this woodland is truly a treasure and worth protecting and restoring. So I hope that this video gave you an insight not only into the land, but the kind of work that we're doing here. And I really hope that you can support our work here in whatever way you can by subscribing or visiting the Patreon link in the description below. Stay tuned for future videos where we explore some of these areas more, whether that's opening up the lake or continuing to build our farm. We've got a lot planned here at the Wellstead, and I hope that you can join us for the journey. And until the next video, thank you for watching and welcome to the Wellstead.